captain has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your seat and fasten your seatbelts. Thank you.
When you first start working in Flare, it can be a bit overwhelming, especially when you find out how many features are in Flare and how much you can do. I mean, just look at this. Each one of these help topics talks about something you can do in Flare. There are things in here that some experts don't even know about. More people have seen Bigfoot than have seen some of the advanced features in Flare. So don't expect to be an expert at everything right away. Instead, begin by trying to wrap your brain around a few concepts and features that are most important when it comes to learning Flare. First, understand the concept of building blocks. In other authoring tools, you're probably used to everything being part of a single file. The content, the table of contents, the styles, and so on. It's not like that in Flare. Instead, most of the pieces are separate. Your content is stored in topic files and in smaller snippet files. And images exist separately as image files and are included in topics and snippets by reference. Your table of contents is a different file. The glossary is yet another file. The styles are stored in a separate cascading style sheet file. Then you use another file called a target to take all of these pieces, merge them together, and generate the output you want. It's kind of like putting a bunch of ingredients into a food processor and ending up with a smoothie. Second, understand the idea of topic-based authoring. Topics are where you type your text and other content. If you come from the world of print publishing, you'll probably be tempted at first to create really long topics, such as one topic for each chapter, or even one topic for an entire PDF manual. And while Flare lets you create very long topics, and there may be cases where you need to do that, for the most part, you want your topics to be smaller, digestible chunks of content that you can reuse for different outputs. One chapter in a PDF that you create from Flare will usually consist of several separate topics. Think about a topic as a long magazine article. It often has several subheadings throughout it to break the article up into logical sections. That's how topics are. By doing that, you can reuse the same topic in several PDFs, in your online web help, and even in mobile output. Third, understand how tables of contents work. While the idea of a table of contents, or TOC, can be very easy to grasp, it can get a bit deeper than that in Flare. One of the main things you need to understand is that TOC files work differently for online output than they do for print-based output. Here's a TOC file in Flare. It's pretty straightforward in that it's made up of individual entries that link to topics and other things. There are also books that can be used to organize these TOC entries and also link to topics. Here's the catch. When you generate online output, this TOC will look pretty much like this, and it will function just like you'd expect a TOC file to function. But if you're generating print-based output, such as a PDF, and you want to use the same exact TOC, guess what? It's not going to be used as a TOC. Instead, its purpose is more like an outline. Call it an outline TOC if it helps. With this outline TOC, you're telling Flare which topics you want to include in the PDF, in what order, and in what kind of structure. Of course, you can still create a traditional TOC for your print output if you want. It's easy, and this help topic tells you how to do it. Fourth, understand snippets and variables. Think of snippets almost as miniature topics. It's content that you want to reuse in many different topics, but you don't want to have to keep retyping that content, so you just type it in once in a snippet. Then you insert that snippet into as many topics as you need it to be in. Normally, snippets are made up of one or more paragraphs, perhaps including things like lists, images, or other things. We're not talking about single words or phrases here. That's what variables are for. If you've got single words or short phrases that you need to reuse again and again, create variables. Think of your company's product name or version number, or maybe a phone number. Those are good things to turn into variables. Fifth, understand condition tags. This is where Flare gets really powerful. Condition tags are used to tell Flare, hey, this piece of content or this file, I want it to be in this output, but not that one. For example, maybe you plan to have two versions of some online output, one version for beginners and one version for advanced users. Much of the content you create is going to be the same for both audiences, but some of it is going to be written only for a specific audience. So you can create condition tags for each audience and use them to separate the content when you build your output. Sixth, understand styles. Styles are what you use to give your content the look that you want it to have. Flare uses cascading style sheets, or CSS, and the rules around them. CSS isn't a Flare thing. It's an international standard for styling web content. and it was developed by a group called the World Wide Web Consortium, or W3C. You can learn all about the W3C on the internet. It's loads of fun. Now, it would take an eternity to explain CSS here. The important thing for you to know is that's the basis of styles in Flare. And even though Flare has a user interface that makes it easy to work with these styles, and you don't have to be an expert to get started, the difference between a good Flare user and a great Flare user is often an understanding and mastery of CSS. And the final important thing about Flare, understand what you're trying to accomplish before you begin. What kinds of output do you want to create? Here's a help topic that lets you compare all of the output types that Flare offers. Do you need online output, print output, or both? How many different versions of online and print output do you need? What kind of snippets, variables, and condition tags will you need? Will one author be working on the project, or will multiple people be involved? In other words, the more planning and preparation you do beforehand, the smoother your journey in Flare will be.